Good morning, this is David Wendell with BushcraftOnFire, and we're glad to have you with us for another video. Today, we've got this cow skin that we had skinned last week, I guess we did one. And I wanted to go ahead and work this skin to show you guys some of the process of tanning a hide. So what we've done, we've made up a frame, and if Duke can get a close-up of the frame here, we've got nails about every 3 to 4 inches around that frame. Now, a couple things that we have to do here. First of all, this skin has been soaking for about 6 or 7 days now in lye water. And we'll show you how to make lye water up in just a few minutes. After we get that lye water, we rinse it out and give it a fresh overnight to get the lye out of it. What that does is soften up the hair side, soften up the meat so it's kind of easy to get off of there. Then what I've done is I've laid my hide out in the center of the fleshing rack. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm going around the hide, and about every 2 to 3 inches I am putting a hole in. What I do, I put my knife down and pull the hide back up through it, and that'll give me something to tie off to the rack to. Now, one thing you'll notice as I'm doing this is I'm holding the knife parallel to the edge of the hide. I'm not holding it this way because that would tend to rip out a lot faster. And when you're doing a skin, you can't be greedy, you can't be selfish. You're not going to get every inch of the skin, so just reconcile yourself to that fact and go ahead and get your hide done. So after I get around here, we'll be back with you. Now, a couple things while I'm doing this. Number one is I'm going about 1 inch in from the edge of the hide. Number two, I'm keeping the knife turned away from me. Remember, we want to use safe knife practices, and that's important. So here's our first hole. Here's our last hole. Very good. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to stretch this out and rack it to the rack, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Well, what we're doing now is we're using some braided nylon cord, and we're going through each hole. We went through the first 2 holes together because there's going to be a lot of stress on that point. Then going through each hole. And you can see we're not tying this extremely tight yet at this point. I'm having my son Chris help me so that we can get through this. What we do is we come around our nails that are our tie-off points, over the hide and back underneath. And then we go to our next tie-up point. Now once we get to the end of this cordage, which is right about now, we're going to just tie another piece in. And once we tie that piece in, then we'll just continue to go. That way, when it's all finished, we'll have one piece of cordage that we can just go around and tighten up, because we want this hide centered when we're finished. So what we did, we started actually over toward the left a little bit because it's going to stretch toward the right. And we're going to go ahead and get this tied off. We're going to get some more around here, and when we get back to the finished end, we'll show you how. All right, we're continuing to go around the bottom of the hide, and now as Chris gets this pulled in on the bottom, he's actually stretching that hide to about 3/4 strength. Not totally tight yet, but about 3/4. You can see here on this edge, we've got it pretty close to centered out, and on the top, it's going to be a little bit toward the top. That's okay. The hide's smaller than the rack. So we'll get this finished off, get it up to the tied off end. We're almost finished the hide now, stretching out, and you can see that it's literally off the ground. That means that it's stretched out nicely. And Chris is going through the last couple holes there. When he's finished with those last couple holes, then we will just go ahead, tie it off to the beginning rack, and then we'll stand this up so that we can work it. Well, we've got the hide done, and what we've done, we've racked it up against some poles standing here, and that allows us, let's see if I can get out and get a full shot of this. That's going to allow us to work that hide. Now you can already see the moisture coming off this hide. We had this soaking again. You can actually see the water dripping off of there. And so we're going to want to work this before this begins to dry out. What we're doing is we broke this file off, and so it had a slanted edge. You can still see it's still a little slanted. What I'm doing is working it down. on a 45-degree angle to sharpen up this back edge, and we're almost there. And once we get that done, I'm also going to round these corners off. What that'll do is attach to another piece will give me a scraper to scrape these hides. So I'm going to go ahead and keep filing this, and we'll be back with you when I get it done. Well, you can see our little scraper's doing a pretty good job. Now, I made the ultimate mistake. And what you do is we cleared this area first, because this is hard up about the neck. And we came down about halfway. We came all the way through the hide with one stroke. Then we're working another strip here. I decided to work this strip first, and I made a boo-boo. I turned my scraper sideways. You've got to keep your scraper this way. I turned my scraper sideways, it scored and went through. Nothing that we can't fix with the needle and thread, and all things are good actually, because I'll get to show you how to sew up a hide when you do make a mistake like that. But that's okay. We'll get past with that one. That's not going to be bad. So you just pull your scraper down. You don't want to rush this. The scraper does the work. You got a nice heavy handle. What I did, I tied this off to a scraper my son made me. So we just come down and that pulls that layer right off. Now you can see that we're leaving a little bit of epidermis on here. The reason for that is because this hide's still pretty wet. So we're going to scrape some more, and when we get this pretty well scraped, we'll come back with you. I wanted to show you guys a couple things here. First of all, this is the epidermis. Let's see if I can get a shot of that. You can see that right there, peeling off. This is what you have to get below in order to tan that hide. Otherwise your oils won't go into the hide, and that's what tans it. But I want to show you something else, because we started to take a little bit of hair. Let's see if I can get around here. Start to take a little bit of hair off this, and you can see right here, you can literally see my finger through this. Let me see if I can go back around here. You can see my finger right there. This hide is very, very thin. So we're going to have to be super careful, and I think what we're going to do is just leave this. We're not quite done yet, but we're almost finished with the hide. You can see it's pretty well fleshed except for just on the bottom. And I've actually ripped through thin hides before trying to take it off by hand. So we're going to leave that on there. We're going to sand it out, and we're going to turn this over and do the hair side in a little bit.